Hey, I'm Jesse. Let's have a devotion. We're in Ezekiel 42. Let's look at verses 15 through 20. Here's the text. When he finished measuring inside the temple complex, he led me out by way of the gate that faced east and measured all around the complex. He measured the east side with a measuring rod. It was 875 feet by the measuring rod. He measured the north side. It was 875 feet by the measuring rod. He measured the south side. It was 875 feet by the measuring rod. Then he turned to the west side and measured 875 feet by the measuring rod. He measured the temple complex on all four sides. It had a wall around it, 875 feet long and 875 feet wide, to separate the holy from the common. Now, there's a whole bunch of 875s. And you're like, Jesse, why are we reading this? What does this have to do with my life right now? How do I apply my life to this text? And the answer, I think, is in the last words: to separate the holy from the common. There's something else about these specks. It is too big to fit on Mount Moriah. So what do we do with this? It's too big to fit on the Temple Mount, so it can't be in the same Temple Mount. All right. Moreover, chronologically, how does it all fit this millennium, regarding the temple that the Antichrist is in, right? Here is a word from Zechariah that gives some insight into where this temple will actually go. On that day, the Lord will become king over the whole earth, the Lord alone and his name alone. All the land from Geba to Rimmon, south of Jerusalem, will be changed into a plain. But Jerusalem will be raised up and will remain on its site from the Benjamin gate to the place of the first gate to the corner gate, and from the tower of Hananel to the royal wine presses. People will live there, and never again will there be a curse of complete destruction. So Jerusalem will dwell in security. Zechariah 14:9, along with pieces of Isaiah, I think, seem to foretell of seismic events in the topography of Israel that change it. And so that makes room, if that's the case, for a complex like this. But the bigger purpose here is to separate the holy from the common. When we talk about the millennial reign of Christ, it's not heaven yet. It's not Eden yet. It'll feel like that to the people who are here. Most of them are going to be elect Jews, meaning people of Jewish descent and faith who then put their faith in Jesus. And it's going to be a massive revival in Israel. And so most of these converts in the millennial reign are going to be the Jewish people. There's something quite beautiful to that. When you imagine it from the perspective of the modern Jew and trying to forecast what it will be like for the future Jew in the millennial reign, you have inherited a legacy of slavery and persecution like no other people group in the history of the planet. And you've seen audacious promises in your Torah fulfilled. And while the majority of the Jewish community is not Orthodox, they don't really believe the Torah, they don't live according to the Torah, they're effectively atheists, most of them it seems. There's a small Orthodox community who just really don't believe in Jesus. And this is the legacy you've inherited. And then suddenly it all comes true. And Yeshua is Messiah. What do you do now? Well, the book we're studying tells you exactly what to build. This is the blueprint. It's a forecast. It's a prophecy. So which came first, the chicken or the egg? I mean, I'll tell you, neither. The sovereignty of God, because God showed Ezekiel this, and the angel of the Lord measured it out for him, 875 by 875 on every side, and just showing him the exact specs from the number of steps and the pattern of the cherubim and the palm trees inside and out, the 90 rooms across 3 stories surrounding this whole thing, the temple built on the west side, all of its trimmings. And there's this other sacrificial system that is different even, like it's all laid out for you. The book of Ezekiel is God showing Ezekiel what will be. And the book of Ezekiel itself then could serve as the very plans that are used to build this thing after the topography of Jerusalem changes. And you're not yet experiencing heaven, but you're getting a glimpse of it if you're around the temple in the millennial time. Because during the millennium, the devil is bound. At the end of the millennium, the devil is released. But for the meantime, it almost seems even like people have longer lifespans. Isaiah 65 has some prophecies that we've studied that seem to indicate like a beautiful glimpse of life in the millennium in Jerusalem during the reign of Christ. It's pretty amazing to behold. And when the holy is among the common, dwelling there, and the devil is bound, and very exact prophecy is being fulfilled all around you, it's hard to deny. And those temple walls are thick for a reason. On the one hand, it's going to be a dangerous place after the devil is released, right? But they don't have to be that thick. They're that thick because God said they were that thick. He showed Ezekiel as prophet that they would be that thick, and so there they are. But the walls around it do separate the holy from the common. You're living in a world full of people who mostly have hard hearts, who have beheld miracles of the book of Revelation and still haven't believed, who have experienced woes and earthquakes, who have heard the testimony of the two witnesses and then rejoiced over their deaths. You're seeing a world that is much like the book of Judges, but global in scale. Everyone's doing what is right in his own eyes, and not one of them could claim that they weren't warned. But here at the temple where Jesus reigns for 1,000 years, the holy is separated. All right, the common, okay, in the Hebrew, this is this carries some pretty gross connotations. The holy is separate and above everything else. There in the millennial temple, the holy remains. And it is but a glimpse of the perfection to come. The holy is separated from the common, both by the millennial temple and by our sin. Our sin separates us from God. We are, in fact, common. Every one of us has sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. And there was a curtain on the second temple that also separated the holy from the common, but it was torn from top to bottom upon Jesus' death on the cross. This millennial reign of Christ, however, ushers in the final age, a new heaven, a new earth, everything recreated, and perfection reigning forevermore, where the devil, the Antichrist, his false prophet, are tormented forevermore. And when that era comes, there need not be this separation of the holy from the common. It is our sin that separates us from the holy now. It is not God who withdrew from us. It is we who have sinned against him. On that day, when the fulfillment comes of the purpose of the millennial reign, there will no longer have to be a separation of the holy from the common, because what comes next is the final battle of Gog and Magog, the great white throne judgment. That's another resurrection, but it's a resurrection you don't want to be a part of. All right, the first resurrection is the tribulation saints that rise again. This other resurrection is rising to be judged. And then God makes everything new. In the meantime, the holy is separated from the common. On that day, all things will be made holy. That's what glorification means. So in the meantime, we are quite aware of that separation, that veil that separates the holy from the common. Go before the Lord in humility. Confess sin. Those things that separate you from the holiness of God, repent of them. Make full category. Make a full catalog of all of them. Confess it and leave no stone unturned, because it's by our sin that we are separated from the holiness of God. All right. I'm Jesse. This is Alguace. Say lalu.
Lalu.
We'll see you guys.